Good morning, and I'd like to call the meeting of the Committee of Adjustment for July the 14th to order. And the first thing we have on is moved by Member Grogan Green, second by Member Bridgman. Be it resolved that Committee of Adjustment agenda dated July 14th, 2025 be adopted. All those in favor? That's carried. Any declarations of conflict of interest?
Oh,
Okay.
yes.
Oh,
But you're.
Yes, sorry, I declared a conflict with respect to agenda item A 28/25 Riverfront Properties due to letters of support submitted by relatives.
thank you. And- Thank you. Moved by Member Stokes, second by Member Grogan Green, be it resolved that the Committee of Adjustment minutes dated June the 9th, 2025 be adopted and approved as circulated. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? That is carried. Okay.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome. I'd like to welcome Noor Tija to the Township of Muskoka Lakes. Noor is one of our new planners, and he will be assisting with our planning applications. Welcome, Noor. It is required that I make a few statements, then I will explain the hearing procedures. This electronic hearing is being held in accordance with Section 238 of the Municipal Act. The members of the Committee of Adjustment present are Alan Edwards, Barb Bridgman, Lisa Grogan Green, and Sean Stokes. I can confirm we have quorum and that senior staff and planning staff are present. Public input on this July 14th, 2025 agenda was invited at the following email address, planning@muskokalakes.ca. Now I will explain the hearing process. The planner will provide an explanation and purpose of the application, the date the notice was circulated, and planning staff's comments. All internal and external submissions received by 8:15 a.m. today have been made available to the committee members and the public. These submissions can be viewed under Section 10 of the agenda. When able, planning staff will do their best to circulate submissions that were received after 8:15 a.m. These submissions will also form part of the public record and will be available for the public on the township's government portal. The planner will identify the source of each submission and whether it is in support or opposition to the application. Should committee members wish to view any submissions during the meeting, they may request that it be projected onto the council chamber screen to view. The committee will hear from the applicant or the applicant's agent if they wish to add any information or to substantiate their proposal. Please provide your name, mailing address, and postal code for our records. The committee will hear from those in support of the application and those in opposition to the application. Again, please provide your name, mailing address, and postal code for our records. Presentations are limited to 5 minutes unless otherwise permitted by the committee. If you are here to speak on an application electronically, please wait until after the planner presents the relevant application to raise your hand in Zoom. If you are here to speak on an application in person, when asked, please raise your hand, and when you are recognized by the chair, please approach the podium, turn on the microphone, and remain at the podium while you state your comments for recording purposes. The committee will hear from the applicant or the applicant's agent to respond to any questions or concerns raised. The committee will then have an opportunity to ask questions, have a debate on the application, and make a decision based on the information presented at the hearing. Please note that the effect of written and oral submissions on decisions for consent and minor variances, along with the reasons for minor variance decisions, are both required under the Planning Act, and motions are pre-populated with standard wording. However, the committee may decide to add reasons and/or effects to the standard wording after voting on a decision. Motions have been pre-populated with random movers and seconders to expedite the meeting. When it is time to vote, members shall physically raise their hand until the chair has confirmed the vote. If the vote is unclear, a verbal vote shall be recorded. This is not considered a recorded vote. It must be noted that the chair has a vote on each application and can participate in the discussion. There is a 20-day appeal period from the date of decision. Building permits are not available until after the appeal period and if no appeals are received. Lastly, please take down the pink notice signs that were posted on your property to advertise today's meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Ward. And the first application is B 131425 ML Willis, and that is Ms. Walker.
Thank you, Chair Edwards. The first application to be heard is consent application B 13 and 1425 in the name of Willis. Staff were advised this morning that the owner wishes to withdraw this application. A resolution has been prepared for the withdrawal of the application.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ms. Walker. Okay, so I'd like a member to move it. Okay. And a seconder? Okay. Be it resolved that consent application B 131425 ML Willis is hereby withdrawn upon the request of the property owner. All those in favor? That's carried. The next application is A 2625 Navy, and that is Ms. Walker.
Thank you, Chair Edwards. The next application to be heard is minor variance application A-26/25 in the name of Davy. The subject lands are known municipally as 1129 Greenwood Point Road, Unit Number 5. I would direct committee's attention to the submitted site plan on page 55 of the agenda package. The applicants propose to construct a new two-story dwelling. Notice of this public hearing under the Planning Act was circulated 26 days in advance of this meeting, and 3 comments have been received to date. Comments were provided by Nick Snyder, the township's chief building official, stating no objection, and that a review of the sewage system location will be undertaken at the permit application time to ensure appropriate setbacks from the well. Comments were received from Matt Veach, township's development and transportation engineering coordinator, and Douglas Holland, the township's fire prevention officer, stating no objection. All comments were circulated to committee prior to today's meeting, and those received after circulation to committee are available in the government portal. The proposed variances are summarized on this shown screen, and this table was included in the circulation materials and can be found in the agenda package. Staff have prepared a detailed report for committee's consideration and have recommended that the application be approved subject to the following conditions. That a satisfactory stormwater management brief containing a grading, information, and erosion sediment control measures be prepared by a qualified professional and implemented to the satisfaction of the township, and that a satisfactory site plan agreement be entered into and registered on title along with any necessary securities to implement the stormwater management brief as necessary. I have no further comments, but I'm happy to answer any questions from committee. Thank you.
Good morning, can you hear me now?
Yes, go ahead. Your name, address, and postal code, please.
Yes, hi, good morning, council members. This is Andres Pons with Fortune Design Associates, 3 Lee Valley Drive, Port Carlin, P0B1J0. I'm here to represent our clients, Ryan and Crystal Davy, on their minor variance application. I've read the staff report. I appreciate their approval recommendation. I also noticed that they've recommended to provide a stormwater management brief and a site plan agreement to be entered. And we're happy and pleased to provide that information if council feel that's required. And I'm here to answer any questions you may have. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else wishing to speak in support of this application? Anyone in opposition to this application? Other questions from the members? No? Moved by member Grogan Green, second by member Stokes. Be it resolved that minor variance application E 2625 DB to construct a new two-story dwelling is hereby approved with the following variance being granted. 1, to amend a lot coverage of 3,734 square feet or 11% within 200 feet of the high water mark. This variance is granted as shown on the plan attached to the notice of decision and is subject to the following conditions. 1, to the satisfactory stormwater management brief containing grading information and erosion and sediment control measures be prepared by a qualified professional and implemented to the satisfaction of the township. And 2, that the satisfactory site plan agreement be entered into and registered on title, along with any necessary securities to implement the stormwater management brief as necessary. This approval shall remain in effect from 3 years from the date of decision. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? That's carried. The next application is a 2725 McDonald. And that is Ms. Crowder.
Thank you, Chair Edwards. The next application to be heard is minor variance application A 2725 in the name of McDonald. The subject lands are known municipally as 1184 Leonard Lake Road 1, unit number 3. I would direct committee's attention to the submitted site plans on pages 79 and 80 of the agenda package. The applicants propose to demolish an existing dwelling with attached sun deck and to construct a new dwelling with attached sun deck, stairs, and landings. The new dwelling is proposed to exceed the maximum permitted lot coverage, and the proposed stairs and landing are proposed to be located within the required side yard setback from the westerly side lot line. Notice of this public hearing under the Planning Act was circulated 25 days in advance of this meeting, and 4 comments have been received to date. Comments were received from Nick Snyder, the township's chief building official, stating no objection to the application, but suggesting that the stair orientation be reviewed to improve the proposed side yard setback. Comments were received from Matt Veach, Development and Transportation Engineer Coordinator, stating no objection to the application. Comments were received from Douglas Holland, the township's fire prevention officer, stating no objection, as well as the calculated fire response time being 18 minutes and 46 seconds, and recommending additional design requirements beyond those in the building code, and that the Fire Smart Homeowners Manual be consulted to understand how treatments to the property influence wildfire spread. One letter of support was submitted by Kathy Gray, a budding property owner to the west. The proposed variances are summarized as shown on the screen. This table was included in the circulation materials and can be found on pages 66 and 67 of the agenda package. As detailed on the screen, one of the variances seeks a side yard setback of 0 feet to the westerly side lot line, where 15 feet is the required minimum. Staff explained the purpose of side yard setbacks to the applicant's agent, including the importance of privacy, vegetative buffers, and room for maintenance. Staff also questioned the need for the variance, considering that there appears to be room on the lot for the development of compliant stairs and landings that adhere to the side yard setback provisions. The applicant's agent discussed these concerns with the owner and have decided to reorient the stairs and landing to be compliant and are in agreement with staff's recommendation to deny exemption A. The applicant's agent has provided a revised site plan which demonstrates that the stairs can be reoriented to comply with side yard setback requirements. You'll notice on this plan and the others shown before that a right-of-way traverses the property. The proposed development is located within this right-of-way, which is not permitted. If committee is considering approval of the application, staff recommend that a condition be imposed to ensure that the right-of-way is extinguished as intended. Staff have prepared a detailed report for committee's consideration and have recommended that variance B of minor variance application A2725 McDonald, being a variance from maximum lot coverage provisions, be approved subject to the following conditions: that the right-of-way be extinguished as intended to the satisfaction of the township, and that a satisfactory site plan agreement be entered into and registered on title, along with securities, for retention of existing vegetation and plantings to retain and revegetate the shoreline buffer, and implementation of the enhanced protection policies as detailed in section C2.6.7.3 of the Muskoka Official Plan. Staff further recommend that variance A, being a variance to permit stairs and a landing to be 0 feet from the westerly side lot line, be denied. Staff have no further comments at this time and are happy to answer any questions from committee. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Crowder. Is the agent or the applicant here wishing to speak on this?
He's already on.
Yes,
Yeah.
go ahead. Your name, address, and postal code, please.
Yeah, hi members, this is Andreas Pons with Fortune Design Associates at 3 Lee Valley Drive, Port Carling, P0B1J0. I'm here to represent our clients, Andrew McDonald and Craig Gray, on their minor variance application. I read the report from staff and I want to thank for their recommendation. I've also read the two conditions, one being the removal of the existing right-of-way, and the second one to site plan agreement to be entered. I want to say that our clients have been in discussions with their neighbors, and they have reached an agreement to remove the right-of-way. That agreement has been signed, and we're just in the process of registering the agreement to provide to a staff member to satisfy this condition. And we're completely in agreement to enter a site plan agreement if required. If you have any further questions, I'm here to answer them. Thanks.
Thank you very much. And is there anyone else wishing to speak in support of this application? Anyone in opposition to this application? Questions from the members?
Ms. Pronger.
Oh, yes.
Thank you, Chair. I did just want to make a minor point here. The second condition, which is for the site plan agreement, there are some items listed within it that may or may not be required at the time of site plan approval. So we are suggesting that we add the wording "as necessary" to the end of the condition, just to add a little bit of flexibility. So at the time the application comes in, we can use some discretion.
Okay. Moved by member Stokes, second by member Bridgman. Be it resolved that the resolution be amended to add the words as necessary to the end of the condition number 2. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? That's carried.
Thank you very much.
Okay, yeah. Moved by member Stokes, second by member Bridgman. Be it resolved that minor variance application 2725 McDonald to construct a new 2-story dwelling with an attached sun deck and to construct a stairs landing is hereby approved. And the part of the following variance being granted. 1, to permit a lot coverage of 1,677 square feet or 8.8% within 200 feet of the high water mark. This variance is granted as shown on the plan attached to the notice of decision and is subject to the following conditions. 1, that the right-of-way be extinguished as intended to the satisfaction of the township, and 2, that the satisfactory site plan agreement be entered into and registered on title along with securities for retention of the existing vegetation and plantings, and to retain and revegetate the shoreline buffer and implementation of an enhanced protection policies as detailed in section C2673 of the Muskoka official plan. And that further the following variance being denied to permit new stairs and landing to be set back 0 feet from the west of the interior lot line. This approval shall remain in effect for 3 years from the date of decision. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? That's carried.
Yeah.
And that was as amended, of course. And the next application is A 2825 Riverfront Properties Limited. And that is Ms. Walker.
Thank you, Chair Edwards. The next application to be heard is minor variance application A-28/25 in the name of Riverfront Properties. The subject lands are known municipally as 3 Lock Street East. I would direct committee's attention to the submitted site plan on page 103 of the agenda package. The applicants propose to recognize 3 as-built shipping containers shown as containers 1 to 3 on the submitted site plan for retail use. Notice of this public hearing under the Planning Act was circulated 26 days in advance of this meeting, and 3 department comments have been received to date. Comments were provided by Nick Snyder, the Township's Chief Building Official, Matt Veach, the Township's Development and Transportation Engineering Coordinator, and Douglas Holland, the Township's Fire Prevention Officer, stating no objection. 4 letters of support were received from area residents stating their support for the application. Comments were received from Jake and Lana Hassan, Nicholas DeConing, Cindy McKay, and Deborah Stokes. 3 letters of objection were received from area residents. Comments were received from Daniel and Marlene Baird, Stephanie and Werna Rodriguez, and Ken Williams. All comments were circulated to committee prior to today's meeting, and those received after circulation to committee are available on the government portal. The letters from Cindy McKay and Deborah Stokes were submitted after comments were circulated to committee. If committee wishes to have time to read the letters, we can pause to provide time to do so. The proposed variances are summarized on the screen in front of you today. This table was also included in the circulation materials and can be found in the agenda package. Staff have prepared a detailed report for committee's consideration and have recommended that the application be approved subject to the following conditions. That a revised site plan agreement be entered into along with securities wherein the owner agrees to cease the use and remove the 3 storage containers within 5 years of the date of committee's decision. This agreement shall be registered on title. Staff have no further comments at this time, but I'm happy to answer any questions from committee. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Walker. Is the applicant or applicant's agent here wishing to speak on this? Yes, can you hear me?
Yep, yeah, I'm here. It's Jordy Newlands, 1162 Brackenrig Road, Port Carling, Ontario, P0B1J0.
Okay,
I just want to thank the town and the planners and everybody for their support. And thank you for supporting small local businesses in our community. Our goal here is to drive economic impact to the town of Port Carling and provide a better experience for the visitors, locals, and year-round residents of Muskoka Lakes. And we appreciate your support.
okay, anything else? Okay, is there anyone else here wishing to speak in support?
Hello.
Hello, can we have your name, address, and postal code, please?
Hi, my name is Kathy Janardis. I work for Granite Engineering at 122 Kimberley Avenue in Bracebridge, P1L1Z8. We're the applicant on behalf of the, or the agent on behalf of the applicant for this application for minor variance. I just wanted to point out a few things, just so you have some background information with respect to the applicant, Jordy and Val Newlands of SWS Water Sports. I just want to remind everybody that they are residents of Port Carling. They are involved in the community year round. They do numerous fundraising initiatives and free events all through Muskoka Lakes to help with the everything going on, making it a beautiful place to come and stay and visit. The Newlands, like the town, are invested in the economic well-being of the entire town and the municipality, and they want Port Carling to be the economic hub of Muskoka. Running a small family business in Muskoka is difficult and without applause. Businesses have to think outside the box to be and stay successful. The Newlands are just trying to do this. These 3 pop-ups take up less than 500 square feet. They are within the footprint of the previous Boatworks building. These businesses within these 3 pop-ups are Canadian businesses. They all do sell summer wear, so they are affiliated with what's going on in Muskoka today and in Port Carling. They bring traffic into Port Carling and thusly dollars into Port Carling, and they increase the engagement in all the businesses of Port Carling. Marinas serve as an important economic function along the waterfront and contribute to its integrity. And it's important for these businesses to succeed and can't do it just on selling gas alone, thusly require other forms of revenue through this application. So I just wanted everybody to keep that in mind when they are doing this, that, Val and Jordy are very important to this community and want only the best for this community.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in support of this application? Anyone in opposition to this application? No? Questions from the members? Yes.
Thank you, Chair Edwards. I remember when this first came up during council, and we were all very supportive. And I believe the only reason we put the 5-year limit on this was if things changed dramatically at the waterfront, and then we wanted to rethink this. But I'm in complete support of this. But I do remember, I thought that when we did this before, planters were sort of part of the deal, but I'm gathering they were not part of the motion. Caitlin?
Through you, Chair
Yes.
Edwards.
Mhm.
That's correct. Planters were a requirement of the previous site plan agreement, so we could look at implementing something similar through this site plan agreement as well, if that's the wish of committee.
Well, Jordy, I'd like your input on that, but I think it would simply soften it a little bit. And that's my only comment. I'm in full support of this.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you. Thank you for your support. Yes, there are flowers, there are Muskoka chairs, picnic tables. That photo that you see there that was circulated doesn't probably represent what it looks like on a day-to-day basis and what the public sees coming in. But there are planters, there are chairs, definitely we want to enhance the place. We want to make it look as inviting as possible. So we're in agreement with whatever we can do to make it more appeasing to the eye.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other questions? Yes.
I was actually going to say the same thing as Barb. Like I obviously in Toronto, these containers, some of them get very fixed up. To me, what if they've been there for a few years and will be there potentially for more years, I think more could be done to improve the aesthetics in front of the containers to create some kind of a microclimate and a nice look for people who are driving up. Because I remember last time we also had this at Committee of Adjustment and discussed the fact that the wall is really unattractive from the water. So yeah, I think that I would be all right with this. The only question I have is there was something in a letter about this property being sold. So if we extend, if that's the case, what happens with this variance? I don't know.
Can someone on planning answer that? Mr. Sharp?
Through you, Chair. The variance itself would expire after 3 years. So, if it's approved by Committee of Adjustment, it would, run with the property. It wouldn't, if there's been an ownership change, there would be no implication, but perhaps Mr. Newlands could speak to, the arrangement that he has between the property owner and himself. Thank you.
Yeah, the property owner does plan to bring forth a proposal to council to rebuild the old Boatworks building, and hopefully he will be bringing that forward within the time frame that this minor variance is in place for these pop-ups. But it is his intention, and I don't want to speak out of turn, but I think he's made it clear to several people that he will be bringing forth a plan to rebuild the building that was taken down several years ago.
Okay, Mr. Sharp, I believe the original was for 3 years, and this is now for 5 years. That correct? I just wanted to clear it because I thought somebody said 5 years and 3.
4.
Yes.
Yeah, through you. So the original approval was for 4 years and that expired. They had to be removed December 2024 is my understanding, and this would extend it for another 5 years.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions? Mr. Newlands, I see your hand up. I'll let you speak one more time.
Sorry, I just didn't put it down. My bad.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you very much. Lupa, yes, I'm sorry, Ms.
Sorry,
Walker.
through you. I just wanted to see if there was an appetite to add landscaping to the site plan agreement.
Yes.
To implement plantings to the resolution, planters and maybe some other landscaping details.
Yes.
No, I'll read the resolution first. Moved by Member Bridgman, second by Grogan Green, be it resolved that minor variance application A 2825 Riverfront Properties Limited to recognize 3 as-built shipping containers for retail and unrelated to marine use is hereby approved, with the following variance being granted: 1, to permit a minimum front yard setback of 23 feet for shipping containers 1 to 3, and to permit a retail use with the shipping containers 1 to 3 that is not accessory to a marina. These variances are granted as shown on a plan attached to the notice of decision and are subject to the following conditions. 1, the revised site plan agreement be entered into along with securities wherein the owner agrees to cease and the use and remove the 3 storage containers within 5 years from the date of committee's decision. This agreement shall be registered on title. This approval shall remain in effect for 5 years from the date of decision. Any questions or comments? Yes.
Thank you, Chair Edwards. Jordy, it looks to me like from the water, your picnic tables and your umbrellas are shielding the pop-up stores anyway. Is that correct?
Yeah, we have several picnic tables and with umbrellas.
Okay, so I'm happy with the way this
It
is.
is, okay.
I am.
And there are plenty of planters. It is a concrete jungle down there, concrete pad, concrete walls, concrete everything. But there are planters all around. During the day, it is a pleasant looking place, especially in the heart of the season. But we will definitely do whatever we need to do to improve it for you guys.
Okay, any other comments? I've read the resolution. Oh. Yes, go ahead.
I guess the problem is the picture is not very good then. Because I see two picnic tables. Did I miss one? Because I see two to the left on the photo. I see something that Roots has done. But there seemed, and I see some palm leaves in a planter, but maybe it's just the photo.
And that photo was taken early spring before any of the pop-ups had set up and, planted any flowers because it was too cold. But I could definitely get a photo today to show you what it looks like at the present time.
Okay, any other questions or comments? All those in favor? Oh,
Are we still doing the amendment to the site plan agreement? The
well,
landscaping?
No, I think I am fine with it the way it reads.
that's what I thought I heard. Okay,
Making sure. Okay.
all those in favor? That's carried.
Thank you very much. Thanks for supporting everything. We appreciate it.
The next application is A3025, and that is Ms. Waffen.
Thank you, Chair Edwards. The next application to be heard is minor variance application A-30/25 in the name of Mango Titch. The subject lands are known municipally as 1011 Kempt Road. I would direct committee's attention to the submitted site plan on page 120 of the agenda package. The applicants are proposing to construct a dock addition, which requires relief from the maximum cumulative width and the minimum side yard setback provisions. The site plan is also on the screen in front of you today. The proposed variances are summarized on the screen shown, and the table was included in the circulation materials and can also be found in the agenda package. Notice of this public meeting under the Planning Act was circulated 33 days in advance of this meeting, and 4 comments have been received to date. Comments were received from Nick Snyder, the Township's Chief Building Official, Matt Beach, the Township's Development and Transportation Engineering Coordinator, and Douglas Holland, the Township's Fire Prevention Officer, stating no objection. A letter of objection was received from Norma Lukes, a neighboring property owner to the north. All comments were circulated to committee prior to today's meeting, and those received after circulation to committee are available on the government portal. Staff have prepared a detailed report for committee's consideration and have recommended that the application be revised with the following variances being granted: to permit a dock width of 46 feet and to permit a dock to be set back 17 feet from the side lot line projection. Staff have also recommended that the property be subject to the following conditions: that a satisfactory site plan agreement be entered into and registered on title, along with securities for the retention of existing vegetation and plantings to retain and revegetate the shoreline buffer, and that the revised site plan be submitted to the Committee of Adjustment Coordinator for inclusion on the committee's notice of decision respecting the application. Staff have no further comments, but I'm happy to assist committee with any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Walker. Is the applicant's agent or the applicant here?
Hi, I'm Travis Roberts. I'm acting as agent for Stefan Mangotich. I'm located at 1100 Milford Bay Road, Bracebridge, P1L0J3. We've read your report. We'd be happy to follow the recommended revisions in order for the variance to be granted. We realize that property owner doesn't currently have much of a shoreline buffer, and it's been in the state for about 50 years. He would be willing to revegetate about 50% of the shoreline, hoping to keep his lake view for the cottage. That's all I have to say. Thank you for supporting this application.
Okay, is there anyone else here wishing to speak in support of this application? Anyone in opposition? Questions from the members? Yes, Member Bridgman.
Thank you, Chair Edwards. I am struggling with this because it does infringe on the neighbor's privacy. And so I did read the report. So basically, if you could just remind me why 5 feet was okay, but 10 feet wasn't, if you don't mind.
Staff felt that the additional 5 feet of dock width would reduce the overall built form of the shoreline structures, and that was the main concern staff had with the 10 feet of dock width. The neighboring property owner to the south is their dock and boathouse are quite set back from this location, so staff didn't have major concerns about privacy in this regard. Our main concern was on the overall built form of the property because there is a legal non-complying 2-story boathouse. So we felt reducing it down to a 5 feet of additional width would be appropriate.
Any other comments? Yes.
Just one question for staff with respect to comment made by the individual up there about the 50% revegetation. Does that jive with what staff, does that make sense? I guess I don't want to put ourselves into a position where there's conflict.
Through you?
Yes.
I would say we don't generally work on percentages of the shoreline being revegetated. In this case, we would go for a net improvement. However, staff generally does look to buffer existing land-based structures from lakeside views. So staff would likely require plantings and tree plantings in front of the existing cottage in this case.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Yes.
So help me out here because this is already a legal non-complying boathouse. So aren't we going more non-complying by approving this on this property?
The dock would be becoming more non-compliant. Yes, that is correct. The additional 5 feet would be bringing it further from compliance.
Any other comments?
Well, I'm not sure what I want to do with this because there's no improvement here. It's an unimprovement. So I'm not sure where I want to go with this.
Okay.
I know where I want to go with it, and that is listening to the neighbor who I believe said they didn't like the variance. And that's my opinion as well. So I just wouldn't support it.
Okay. Yes.
I appreciate those comments, and through you, I just want to clarify that the neighbor comments we received was from the northern neighbor, not the neighbor to the south where the dock addition will be further encroaching upon.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Yes, go ahead.
Talking a lot on this one. I also understand you want somewhere to sit on your dock when you're down at that area. And thank you for clarifying it was the other neighbor. So I can support this.
You can support, okay. Any other comments? No. Mr. Sharp? No, you're fine, okay. Moved by member Grogan Green, second by member Stoughton, be it resolved that minor variance application A 3025 Mangotich to construct a dock addition resulting in a cumulative dock width of 51 feet from the side lot line and 12 feet be revised, with the following variance being granted: to permit a dock to have a minimum cumulative width of 46 feet, and 2, to permit a dock to be set back 17 feet from the side lot line projection These variants are granted shown on the plan attached to the notice of the decision and are subject to the following conditions: that a satisfactory site plan agreement be instituted and registered on title, along with securities for the retention of existing vegetation and planting to retain and revegetate the shoreline buffer. This is a revised site plan be submitted to the Committee of Adjustment Coordinator for inclusion in the committee's notice of decision respecting the application. This application shall remain in effect for 3 years from the date of decision. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? That's carried. Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Excuse me. And the next application is A3525, and that's Chase Warners Point Road. And that is Ms. Walker again.
Excuse me, Chair. I think we might have skipped one.
Sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. It's A3225, sorry, and that's Ms. Walker. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Edwards. The next application to be heard is minor variance application A3225 in the name of Suzel. The subject lands are known municipally as 1045 Lakeview Road. I would direct committee's attention to the submitted site plan on page 137 of the agenda package or in front of you on the screen today. The purpose and effect of the application is to construct a sleeping cabin. Notice of this public hearing under the Planning Act was circulated 26 days in advance of this meeting, and 3 comments have been received to date. Comments were received from Nick Snyder, the township's chief building official, stating no objection, but noted some additional considerations with the spatial separation requirements of the south to the south building and the requirements to upgrade the existing septic system at the time of a building permit. Comments were also received from Matt Veach, the township's development and transportation engineering coordinator, which notes that an existing wooden retaining wall, concrete pad, and satellite dish encroach upon the unopened road allowance and would be subject to an encroachment agreement if they are to remain in place. And lastly, a comment was received from Douglas Holland, the township's fire prevention officer, stating no concerns. The proposed variances are summarized on the screen shown in front of you, and they were also included in the circulation materials and can be found in the agenda package. Please note that variance C, relief from a 25-foot setback requirement measured from the lot line abutting an unopened road allowance, was unintentionally omitted from the circulated notice of hearing. As a setback is less than the required from the exterior side yard, variance B, which was circulated, staff have no concerns with its consideration by committee without recirculating the notice of hearing with variance C included. Staff have prepared a detailed report for committee's consideration and have recommended that the application be adjourned at such time as considerations related to the private on-site sewage disposal are addressed to the satisfaction of the township, and the extent which the considerations noted and I above affect the proposed setbacks are confirmed by the town to the satisfaction of the township. I have no further comments, but I'm happy to assist committee with any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Walker. Is the applicant's agent here wishing to speak on this? Okay, thank you.
They've declined to be promoted, so
Pardon?
they've declined.
Okay, so there's no one to speak for or against them? Okay. Questions from the members on this? And that, like, adjourned? Moved by member Stokes, second by member Green, be it resolved that minor application A 3225 to construct a new sleeping cabin with a porch be adjourned until such time as one, consideration related to private on-site sewage disposal are addressed to the satisfaction of the township, and two, the extent to which the considerations notice in one above affect the proposed setbacks and are confirmed with the satisfaction of the township. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? Okay. And we're gonna take a comfort break at this point. I'll go and introduce myself to Newman.
Okay. Yeah. We're working on it. You have children and you have said they probably go there after you.
Where are we now? We just did that one. 83525 Chase, and that is Ms. Walker.
Thank you, Chair Edwards. The next application to be heard is minor variance application A3525 in the name of Chase. The subject lands are known municipally as 1532 Mortimer's Point Road, unit number 16. I would direct committee's attention to the submitted site plan on page 154 of the agenda package. The purpose and effect of the application is to construct a new two-story dwelling. Notice of this public hearing under the Planning Act was circulated 26 days in advance of this meeting, and 3 comments have been received to date. Comments were received from Nick Snyder, the Township's Chief Building Official, and Matt Veach, the Township's Development and Transportation Engineering Coordinator, both stating no objection to the application. Comments were also received from Douglas Holland, the Township's Fire Prevention Officer, stating no objection, however citing concerns with height as the fire department cannot reach heights above 35 feet in the event of a fire. He also noted the calculated fire response time, recommended additional design requirements beyond the minimum set out in the Ontario Building Code, and recommending that the Fire Smart Homeowners Manual be consulted to understand how treatments to the property influence wildfire spread. The proposed variances are summarized as shown on the screen. This table was included in the circulation materials and can be found in the agenda package. Please note that in the notice materials, an incorrect value was cited for the variance related to height. A variance of 1.5 feet was cited when in actuality, the requested variance is 2.5 feet, as shown on the screen. Staff have prepared a detailed report for committee's consideration and have recommended that the application be approved. Staff have no further comments at this time and are happy to answer any questions from committee. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is the applicant or applicant's agent here wishing to speak on this? Yes. Yes, and you have to turn the mic on.
Sorry, Adam Vokes, Collingwood, Ontario, L9Y4W3. Just want to bring up something about the fire officer. The actual average grade on the water side is only 34, call it 35 feet. And then if you've been on site, the existing door is more on the side right now, and you actually go down to it. So we are actually, we're not compliant, but we did our best because the existing grade around the front is going to be at 35 feet and then just drop down where the stairs are. I provided elevations, and I don't know if they got added. I know on the, so anyways, if you want to look at the front, the water side elevation, you'll see that although we are 37.5 feet, that's only in one spot where we hope to carve out a spot for the water side door. And then our lot coverage is, although we're asking for a minor variance, we are actually a few hundred square feet less than the current house and deck right now. So that's it.
Okay.
And I'll answer any questions that there might be.
Yeah, questions? I have one on page 154, the propane tank. Whose property is that on? Is that your tank on that?
Right, so. I believe the propane tank is off of the property, but in a spot that allows for full seasonal maintenance and filling, and that was there prior to us. So that's been there, I guess, as part of the existing ownership.
Okay. Planning staff want to comment on that? So it's the propane tanks on someone else's property. Is that a road allowance or?
Through you, Chair. I'm just pulling up the plan. Just give me one moment.
154.
All right, through you. It looks like the lands to the north are where the private road traverses. If the propane tank is associated with your property, it should be moved onto your property. this hasn't really been explored in the planning application. We can add a condition if committee wishes for the propane tank to be relocated onto the subject lands. That would be up to committee today.
Yes. Member Bridgman.
Thank you, Chair Edwards. Help me out about the seasonal part, like moving it onto the land. How does that change things?
It's, I believe the road, it's where you can get the propane trucks will drive. So I don't think they'll come down the driveway, and I believe that's as far as they were willing to pull the pipe through the woods, not the woods, but in the winter.
Yeah, no, I get it. It's critical in the winter to get the propane tank in. It was a hard winter last winter just because of the snow. But there must be a solution somewhere where they could put it on their property, I would think.
It's just whether relative to the road, but we can definitely take a look at that for sure.
Well, it might be a longer run into the home from their road that they turn off of.
It probably would be closer if they put it on their driveway, and we could take a look at that. If that's a condition, that's what
I think you should, because with the act, with the propane, it's got to be on your property.
It's not something that we hadn't looked at because it was there, so.
Okay, no, I noticed it because, like I say, in fact, there is in the propane code, you have to be so many feet inside your property too, I believe. Mr. Sharp, you wanted to say something?
Through you, Chair, just so the agent can understand, I think, where we're coming from or where you're coming from, Chair Edwards. The rear lot line of the property appears to about a original road allowance containing the private road. It appears that that is the township's property, and based on the site plan, the propane tank is indicated on that road allowance. Okay, I'm being corrected. I do apologize. It looks like it is privately owned. So it's not the township's property, which is somewhat of a benefit from the township's perspective, at least. I wanted to note that there is a requirement for a 25-foot setback from a rear lot line. Sorry, a 15-foot setback in this case from a rear lot line. So if the propane tank was relocated onto the property, it would need to meet that setback requirement. It's up to committee. It seems to me that this is largely a private matter between, two property owners with respect to the location of that propane tank on somebody else's property. We haven't received any complaints, so you could leave it at that. That would be likely my suggestion. Or alternatively, you could require a condition that it be relocated onto the subject property. And I do apologize for the confusion, misquoting the abutting property as a road allowance. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Chair Edwards. I'm with Mr. Sharp on this. I don't think government needs to get into private issues, which I think that's what this is when it's on somebody else's property. That's just my opinion.
Well, the only thing I mentioned it's a liability to the other people. And I'm surprised that the propane company should know it, because when I used to install gas lines, I had to make sure that they were within the regulations. This is a breach of regulations at this point.
I agree with you, but
Okay,
we were
no, I'm
talking
just
about the let them theory at part-time, and that's just where I am.
Yep.
Right,
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I'll talk to my client who's here as well. The original lot fabric that we had from, I believe it was the 50s, this was one lot. And so there may be, I would have to look back and find out the ownership. There are two lots, but it may be that it's owned by the homeowner or the community there. Yeah. So we'll take a look and look into that.
Yeah, it's kind of positioned in one spot at sort of B because it's a steeply pitched hill. And so it's not an accident, but it's kind of I think it's a particular spot for it. So
yeah, and the fact that at one point the lot that we're talking about was part of this lot, so
Okay.
I'd have to dig deeper into. This wasn't something that came up with us to chatting, so I'll have to definitely dive into it.
Okay,
And
thank
also,
you.
if there's any constellation, neighbor next door is highly supportive of our application.
Okay, no, it's fine. It's just something that if there was ever a fire or something like that, they would be held liable. And that's so it's just, you should try and clean it up with your neighbor. Okay, any other questions or comments on this one? Is there anyone else in support? Anyone else in opposition? Any other questions?
Good catch.
Moved by member Bridgman, second by member Stokes, be resolved that minor variance application A 3525 Chase to construct a new two-story dwelling is hereby approved with the following variance being granted. One, to permit a lot coverage of 3,252 square feet or 10.2% over the area of the entire lot. And two, to permit a dwelling to be 37.5 feet in height. These variants are granted on, as shown on a site plan and elevation drawings attached to the notice of decision. This approval shall remain in effect for 3 years from the date of decision. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? That's carried.
Thank you.
And next application is A 3625, heating and water. And that is Ms. Crowder.
Thank you, Chair Edwards. The next application to be heard is minor variance application A 3625 in the name of Hatinga and Walnick. The subject lands are known municipally as 1078 Strachan Point Road. I would direct committee's attention to the submitted site plan on page 175 of the agenda package. The purpose and effect of the application is to construct a sleeping cabin and a dwelling addition. Notice of this public hearing under the Planning Act was circulated 21 days in advance of this meeting, and 3 comments have been received to date. Comments were received from Nick Snyder, the Township's Chief Building Official, and Matt Veach, the Township's Development and Transportation Engineering Coordinator, both stating no objection to the application. Comments were also received from Douglas Holland, the Township's Fire Prevention Officer, stating no concerns, noting the calculated fire response time, and recommending that the Fire Smart Homeowners Manual be consulted to understand how treatments to the property influence wildfire spread. The proposed variances are summarized as shown on the screen. This table was included in the circulation materials and can be found on pages 164 and 165 of the agenda package. Staff have prepared a detailed report for committee's consideration and have recommended that the application be approved subject to the following conditions: that the existing privy be removed as intended, and that the existing dock not shown on the submitted site plan be removed or brought into compliance with zoning requirements if necessary. Staff have no further comments at this time and are happy to answer any questions from committee. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is the applicant or applicant's agent here wishing to speak on this?
Good morning, committee staff. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay,
Okay,
perfect.
yes, go ahead.
Nathan Zimmer, 101 Hunters Bay Drive, Huntsville, P1H1M 1M8, representing the owners as the agent. This application was previously approved for a sleeping cabin and an addition to the existing cottage. The owners wanted to relocate the sleeping cabin, so we've come back to get approval. The new sleeping cabin is actually further away from the property, the water's edge, than the previous application. So we've increased the setback there, and the existing cottage is no longer being raised. Under the original application, we were looking to raise the existing cottage, and the owners no longer would like to do that. So we've looked at the septic, and the septic's been approved by the building department for the increase due to the sleeping cabin. And I know the owners are committed to bringing the existing docks into compliance as required by the bylaw. So I'm happy to answer any questions regarding the proposed development.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else here wishing to speak in support of this application? Anyone in opposition to this application? Questions from the members? None? Moved by member Grogan Green, second by member Bridgman. Be it resolved that minor variance application A 3625 Hatinga and Wonik to construct a sleeping cabin and a dwelling addition is hereby approved with the following variances being granted. 1, to permit a front yard setback of 44 feet for a sleeping cabin. 2, to permit a lot coverage of 1,726 square feet or 8.8% over the area of the entire lot. And 3, to permit a front yard setback to be 16 feet from a dwelling addition. These variances are granted as shown on the plan attached to the notice of decision and are subject to the following conditions. 1, that the existing privy be removed as intended, and 2, that the existing dock not shown on the submitted site plan be removed or brought into compliance with the zoning requirements as necessary. This approval shall remain in effect for 3 years from the date of decision. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? And that is carried. Okay. And who would like to do site visits? Mr. Sharp?
Thank you, Chair Edwards, and committee will recall a brief discussion that we had in June concerning site visits conducted by committee members. Committee will also recall that the matter was analyzed in detail in April 2023, and committee's procedural bylaw was amended with clarifying language that members shall not undertake site visits of property subject to a matter before committee, except for those situations that are being addressed under the Line Fences Act. Staff's 2023 report and the 2023 procedural bylaw with that update have been attached to today's agenda. Staff do not see a need to reopen the matter at this time. However, if committee wishes to do so, it would be my recommendation that we be directed to return with a report with further analysis and options addressed in that report itself. I would be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Yes.
Thank you, Chair Edwards. I don't think I want to let this just stop right now. I go back to the discussion we had that we get to this meeting, and if there's still problems and we feel that we need to see a property, maybe it's a majority, not unanimous, it could be arranged by staff that we could go out and see it. I don't anticipate that happening very often, but I would like to see that option available to us. And part of that is that other jurisdictions do not have this kind of prohibition completely. So that's my thought. I just like to leave it as an option. I don't see it happening very often, but I'd like to leave it as an option.
Yes.
So I don't think it unfairly biases the meetings if one person of 4 or 5 people or more visit a site. It just to me adds more flavor to it. I would have gone today to a couple of sites that would have helped me potentially make a decision. I also asked Seguin, and it turns out the committee has to go, not together. You have to go individually. It's viewed as a fiduciary obligation. And at the meeting that I attended, most of the waterfront municipalities asked the committees to go. A lot of these comparisons are with like a large urban center like Toronto, for example. You can't go. The meetings go for 3 or 4 full days. But in smaller municipalities, I think it can be a requirement that people go. Even today, okay, the picture of SWS Boatworks down at the water, I don't know what it looks like. I don't come into Port Carling a lot. So I don't know a spring photo versus a summer photo, what the difference is. I could have driven in my boat yesterday, but I thought, no, you know what? I'll just go take a look at the public dock. Well, that wasn't going to happen today because it's under construction. So that would be an example where, a site visit, if I'd had more time in advance, I might, and if I had the privilege of being allowed to go, maybe I would have thought differently today in advance of the meeting about that decision. I don't know, but I think it would have been helpful.
Okay. Any other thing?
I don't really have anything specific. I think I mentioned last time, it does call, to my mind anyway, it does call into question the delivery of materials for the committee. There's not a big window if we get things on a Thursday and we need to arrange site visits over the weekend for a Monday meeting. At the OCA conference, when I talked to folks who were doing site visits, they received their materials well in advance of the meeting, so it gave them time to perform their site visits on their schedule. And then obviously, the sundry bylaws, et cetera, will need to be amended based on what we've read. So I'm kind of agnostic on it. I think I see the merits of it, and I also see the challenges with it.
Yes.
Thank you. Member Stokes, I wasn't suggesting in between when we get our material and when we meet. It would be at a meeting, public meeting, where we say we really can't grasp completely what this is, and it's hard to make a decision. And it would be the committee that says we need to go and see a site visit. So it would not be in that time span. And that's why I also said to you, I don't think it would happen very often, but having the option is what I was saying.
Okay. I think that over the last 19 years here, we've had one site visit, and that was up the Joe River and we went to see it because we adjourned it to have a look at it. That's the only one I can remember in all those years I've been on. I think it's an option that staff can maybe look at, and that reading all the material that was sent, the reasons being you're going up sometimes private roads. How do you get around in the winter if there's island properties on a different lake that you don't have a boat on and everything else like that? I think to be fair and that doing it the way we do, but if there's a real problem, then we could maybe do something like that. Mr. Sharp, what are your thoughts on that?
Through you, Chair, I think there's 2 options with respect to ensuring that a joint site visit could be undertaken procedurally. One would be to do nothing at this time and wait for that situation to arise, if it were to arise in the future.
Yeah.
And at that point, I'm assuming that in the case of that application, it would be adjourned. Committee would give us direction at that point to amend the procedural bylaw in such a way that would allow committee to undertake a joint site visit. Alternatively, you could choose, again, to direct staff to bring back a report to you now, analyzing that option and we could update the procedural bylaw now to allow that flexibility.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other question or comments on that? So what would committee like, just to leave it the way it is? If something does come up, we can adjourn it and go and see. That's what we did the last time, if I recall. Because I think you were with us, Mr. Sharp, when we went.
Through you, Chair. Yes, I do recall that situation. As it stands now, at that time, I should say at that time, there was really no clarifying language in the procedural bylaw with respect to site visits by committee. It was felt in that situation that it was best that all of committee attend, and there was no talking between committee
right.
members. I think I was there as a staff member just to observe. You know, now there is that clarifying language that says that site visits shall not be undertaken by committee unless it's for a matter that's being considered under the Line Fences Act. So I think it's really a question of whether you want us to consider that change now or wait for, you know, this to arise at some point in the future if it does.
Yes.
So just so I understand, if it does arise in the future, we don't make any changes. And then council or committee, decides that they want a site visit. How can we facilitate that without modifying all the policies and procedures and bylaws? And isn't that that could take an inordinate amount of time, could it not?
I think to your point, committee would adjourn whatever application it is that we're dealing with, that you feel that a site visit by all of committee is required. I think you would need to give us some direction that you want the procedural bylaw updated to permit that. And then we would need to go to council, update the procedural bylaw, in which time afterwards you could proceed with site visit. I guess, you know, what I'm thinking of is to Chair Edwards' point, in 19 years, he's only seen this happen once.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you.
No, I think that's all fair comment
Yes,
I see great resistance to doing anything right now, and I'm okay with that.
you're okay, just
Well-
leaving the way it is?
Yeah, I'm not going to force it if.
Okay. Same.
I'm fine with leaving
Yeah,
it
like I
as
say,
is.
I've only seen it happen once and that so that people could get the lay of the land. Staff do an excellent job of taking pictures. If they're not sure, take a few more pictures and that, so we have, rather than 3 pictures, 6 pictures, if you think it's there could be something on it.
And if I may, sorry, just one of the comments or questions that came up today, and I know that there's a million of these instances, and I'm not asking for a million notes, but when there is a comment, for example, a comment from a neighbor, just if we could have an understanding of where that is situated. I mean, I know they give the address, but sometimes it's difficult to, so if you know, when you're maybe mentioning the comments, say a neighbor from the west or something like that. Anyway, that's just one other comment.
Yes, yes.
Through you, Chair. I would just say too, you know, when we put our staff reports together, we try to pick the best photos and the photos that give the best snapshot of the situation. But if committee is ever unsure or wanting to see more photos, we usually do have a bunch more photos saved in our folders. So if there's ever a situation where you are wanting to see a few more, I think that it would be appropriate to ask us to share a few more on the screen at the meeting. So that might help as well.
I think that would be fine because like I say, if we have the photos, because if you're going through them, it's easier to look at a photo, which the word picture's worth 1,000 words. So it does make it, and yeah, I think if committee want, we'll leave it the way it is at that point. If something does come up, then we can go from there. Is that everyone in agreement with that? Yes.
There's one thought on the photographs, and this may be way out there, and you can tell me if it is, but you know, does the township use drones or have the ability to use drones to take aerial photographs, and that might help clarify something. Maybe not today, maybe someday.
Yes.
Thank you, committee. So certainly it's a technology we're aware of looking at. There are some implications, though, that we do need to work through from a legal and privacy perspective, as well as training to become licensed operators potentially. So it is on a horizon. We are looking at it, but we don't have anything in the very near future coming forward. Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Moved by member Stokes, second by member Bridgman. Be it resolved that Committee of Adjustment hearing adjourned at,
Chair Edwards, I have 3 points for new business.
okay, sorry.
That's okay.
Let's start with new business.
I know you wanted to end by 10:30, but.
I was 10:31 anyway.
So my first is just an educational thing for me. Why did we have to actually, the first application that was withdrawn, why did we formally have to vote on that? Is that because it got published? Like, can't someone just withdraw an application and it's gone? So this is just for me, but.
Yep.
Yeah.
Through you, it's just a courtesy for the minutes that there's a following of that it was withdrawn on behalf of the property owner.
Okay, thank you. My second question, which I think goes around and around every few years, I would ask planning staff, how long has it been since there's been a denial of an application that goes to 1 more % of what is in the bylaws before there's before you need to apply to have the OP adjusted for your property. So the bottom line is, I don't understand why we have to see these anymore, because I don't think they're ever denied. Just the 11% coverage or the 8.8. If it's just a standard thing, why can't we delegate that to staff?
Originally, when I first started, it was staff denied going from 10% to 1% and let the committee take that and that. The one on the 5 foot on the boat and the dock today, what they wanted 10 and it dropped at 5. As you said, it was legal non-conforming. Why would you even give the 5 feet extra in that?
Well, I don't understand. That's not about lot coverage, though.
No, well, you're talking lot coverage or something like that.
I'm just talking lot coverage.
Because then somebody would say, okay, I'm allowed 11%, I want 11.5.
Well, then they have to do an
They'd
OPA.
have to go to in that. Mr. Sharp.
I'm just asking the question because I don't see it ever denied. So I'm just trying to.
Through you, Chair, it's a great question. I think Committee of Adjustment. I'm having problems speaking this morning. I think it was because of my week off last week, but lot coverage increases are one of our most common variance types. And when we initiated the update to the comprehensive zoning bylaw, staff had actually brought forward consideration of what's called a community planning permit system that would allow certain types of variance applications to be more easily delegated to staff. I think I looked at the numbers in 2022. I think that was maybe our highest application numbers in recent memory, and I think there was like 97 applications involving lot coverage, and I think all but 2 were approved. So certainly, there is a lot of that type of variance, but I think, as with any property, they all have their unique circumstances. Some could be very well treated. Others could be just a small increase. There could be improvements. There's all kinds of considerations. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to say for sure based on memory. I'd have to go and do that research.
Okay, so. So if I could, Chair Edwards, would that be helpful to staff to be able to, if it's just lot coverage, have it done internally and not have to come to council? We could give you that power?
Through you, Chair, I don't believe under the system that we have now, there would be the ability to delegate minor variance approvals. I think consents, there is language in the Planning Act with enough flexibility that consideration could be given to, delegating certain consent applications like rights of way or lot additions to staff to be delegated. In fact, I believe at one point, Mr. Pig had brought forward a report to council at one point to do that. However, it was felt that that council didn't want to go down that road. Thank you.
I'm wondering in our reports if it could be identified. I know in these reports there was one that was identified as a variance from before, but I'm wondering if we could, with all of these applications, just have even a number count of how many variances have been allowed on the property. Because I actually missed it in one of our meetings before, that a property had many, many variances. And my understanding now is that you can use that. I mean, if a property has had so many variances, there's a term for it. And it might have been you, Mr. Sharp, I was talking to about it, where so many variances have already been approved. There's a great justification for saying no more variances on this property.
Thank you. Through you, Chair, I'd be hesitant to make that distinction based on the numerical amount of variances. I think staff do review the property history in quite a lot of detail. I think we aim to include reference to relevant past applications in our reports, and we certainly do consider those applications. If you were looking for a little bit more detail, we could endeavor to try to do that for sure. Thank you.
Through you, Chair Edwards, just to add to what Mr. Sharp was saying, in our reports at the end, there's an appendix and it's A1. It cites all of the relevant previous past planning approvals for a property. So that might be a good place to check to see what kind of applications have happened in the past. And then there is a section of the official plan that speaks to the current situation with respect to lot coverage. So as being sort of something to consider when minor variance applications or zoning bylaw amendment applications come forward, and the potential cumulative impacts of a lot situation and the situational context. So just to add that point in there, we do consider kind of the existing situation of a property when we put a recommendation forward to committee.
Anything else? Moved by member Stokes, second by member Bridgman. Be it resolved that Committee of Adjustment hearing adjourned at 10:39 a.m. and the next regular Committee of Adjustment meeting will be held on Monday, August 11th, 2025 at 9 a.m. All those in favor? That's carried.